I'm a knitter, and you use different weighted knits to continue the scarf, and I'm like, they do not have someone consulting on knitting.
I tried to knit once, I always got to the end of the row, and I was like, I can.
So I guess the first thing is, what do you think of the growth of Laura throughout, from season 1 to season 3? How do you feel about how the character evolved, and by the end, what do you think?
Yeah, the evolution of Laura Hollis. I think, when we first meet her, she's very bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and has a very naive view of the world. And I think in order to get her to the point that we saw her at the end of season 3 and the film, in order to get a character out of naivety, you kind of have to throw them under the bus a little bit, and you kind of have to make them go through situations where they accept that not only is the world not the picturesque view that she thought it was, but also herself doesn't match that view. And it's, I think, what we saw in season 2 was her labeling that as bad. I think what we saw was her beating herself up about that, instead of accepting it as human and accepting that once I know these things, then I actually have a choice of whether I want to continue behaving that way or if I want to move into a different behavior. And so I think that's what we get to see in the film. We get to see her a little more grown up and still running into the same problems a lot of the time, but maybe dealing with them in a more mature and more conscious way.
What's up, I'm Valerie from Black Owners. I wanted to ask, what's your favorite or most memorable scene from the very first episode up until now? What's the one thing that sticks out for you in the show?
The first thing that came to my mind was the fight choreography in season 3, and we also got to do a bit in the movie. And I discovered that I would like to do that a lot more. That was really fun. I think it really is, I know it's such a cliched thing to say, but it is difficult to pick a moment because we had so many special moments throughout the years, and it really has felt like the growth of a family. And it's kind of like asking someone to say, like, what was your favorite Christmas? Like, they were all wonderful. All the scenes where we get to be together as like a big cast, those were fewer and far between to be able to be with everyone on screen at the same time, but those scenes are amazing. And then also scenes that are more intimate with Natasha, where there's no camera on us or no vlog camera on us. We get to really see the characters as how they are in private. I love those scenes as well, so all of it.
What kind of martial arts did you learn?
Well, in season 1 it's revealed that, Laura knows Carmilla. But I didn't actually learn any martial arts. We had very limited time to learn things, but we did have some stunt choreography, and that big epic scene in the film. It was so much fun.
Well, piggybacking a little bit on that question, because you guys talked about like season 1, season 2, season 3, and the movie you guys had a little bit more time, but you guys had such a short amount of time to film everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you had so much lines too, so much stuff. So would you have, like, if you could go back and redo anything, you can't really talk too much about the movie, but like for the first 3 seasons, if there's anything that you want to redo, what would that be?
Yeah. All of it in some ways, but then in the same way, I think it was such a gift of learning how to let my work go, of learning that, what went out. There was no editing, or very, very minimal editing. Like, we didn't get to, splice shots together and splice coverage together. So really, what was shot was out there, and so much similarly to Laura, learning to let go of my imperfections a little bit was such my imperfections or my perfectionist. Learning to let go of my perfectionist was really important. And so I don't think I would necessarily redo anything, because I think everything that went out was really meant to be and really led up to the next thing. And I love your shirt.
Thank you.
So I'm a huge fan of all the Harry Potter references and the various pop culture references in the series. So can you tell me your favorite pop culture reference?
I also love Harry Potter. I will be honest, there were a lot of pop culture references that went way over my head. Things that I have never watched before or never read. But I loved, there was a glass that Laura's stressed out in season 3, and so she's crafting, and she makes this heinous Hermione cup. And she's like, what would Hermione do or something? And she looks at it, and it's just the most ridiculous thing ever. Little things like that were really fun.
Was there a different approach to shooting the film than, I mean, because, a feature film is a little different than a web series.
Absolutely,
so was there like,
yeah.
What was the biggest change for you guys in the filming structure?
Yeah, well, just being able to see the characters outside of the public's eye. A lot of the stuff that we captured season 1 to 3 was really in front of a camera that we knew was going, as characters knew was going to a broader audience, and so there was always an element of holding ourselves back and how we would maybe really be in private. And so I think we get to see these characters a little more relaxed, a little more themselves, which is great. And in terms of technically how it felt to film it, it was awesome to be able to have coverage, to be able to take a bit more time, although we still shot the feature in 14 days, which for a feature film is like a pittance, a very small amount. To live in the world a little bit more too, because of all these great costumes that our amazing costume designer had. And it just felt like, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Oh, he's just with me. So I guess, what was it like, so Dominique is in the film, to have cross fandom in the LGBT film? What was that like to kind of have that influence and having cross fandom?
Yeah. I think, Dom just fit in like an old shoe. Like, she really did come in and just seamlessly fit into our world and really was there to serve our story and to tell this story from what she was able to offer, which is her character, and she plays something very different than what she does on Winona Earp, and so it was great to see her fit into that shoe, and because I think we have a lot of similarities, and a lot of similarities between our characters on Carmilla and Winona, and seeing her live outside of that was so fantastic. But we talked a lot about, the importance and the responsibility of the shows that we were a part of, and connected on that level. And I don't think it's something that either of us take lightly. And you can tell that the fandom and the importance that her show brings to people really means a lot to her. So it was great to have that same energy brought up to our set.
I know we have to wrap up, but just really quickly, what do you think about how the LGBT fandom has embraced the show, and did you expect that sort of outpouring of love that fans have shown for the show, especially when TV and series are kind of struggling to find their place within that world? What do you think?
I think, none of us were really expecting it to have the success that it did when we were filming it 3 years ago in a tiny little house with one bathroom. I don't think any of expected us to be at New York Comic Con right now. But I think it shed such a light on the misrepresentation of queer characters in media, that the fact that people were so starved for accurate and positive representation, I think really speaks volumes to where we were at even 3 years ago. I think media has moved forward. I think we are taking the right steps. I think there's still so much further to go, and I think I'm really thankful that I was able to be a part of a show that had such a positive impact on people's lives, and that started to shape people's perspective of what is marketable too, because that was a big lie that studio heads were saying for a long time, is that, well, this isn't marketable, and that, like, you know, this won't make money, and yeah, I think that's bullshit, and I think I'm hoping that our film starts reaching a broader audience now, and that people are able to see it who maybe have never had or never seen a love story between two women on screen and go, oh, this is just a love story, or this is just a mystery thriller, vampire rom-com, and not separate the two. So thank you guys so much. I think that we're am I swapping over there?
Yeah. Did everyone